bruh. Hello, we're live. It's another edition of Metal Mondays with me, MTJ Disorder, aka Michael, and I'm joined, as always, by my awesome companion, Phil.
Phil Rock, Metal Mondays. Thank God it's Monday, bro.
Phil Rock, is that what you're going with?
It's what I've been. It's my name. It's what
Oh,
my
look at
daddy
that.
named me.
My niece is trying to call me in the middle of a street.
Ah, nice.
Anyways, let's get started today. How have you been? What's your week been? What have you been up to this
Good.
week? You been working lots? Working too much?
Working lots, listening to a lot of metal. And for people who don't know, I'm in the country of Suriname. It's very hot in here. So I'm just chilling with a beer and happy to talk metal. Let's do it.
Do you always listen to heavy metal when you're working?
Nah, man, I listen to all music, all kinds of music, but you know, more than 50% is metal for sure. I'm soaking up metal always, but there'll be some weeks, even months, where I won't listen to that much metal. But these days I'm back in the phase, especially with the show. I'm discovering a lot of new bands, and I like to get into it.
So what about in the morning, right? You didn't sleep, you drank a few the night before, you're not feeling great. You know you've got a 10-hour grind ahead of you. What are you gonna listen to? What's your go-to track?
Dying fetus. Seriously, anything. It depends. Some morning I'll go with brutal death. Some morning I'll go with salsa. Salsa music. It's very orchestrated. A lot of horns. It's very uppy. When I'm feeling it for the day and we want to have a good day. Or sometimes, man, I'm just hungover and I listen to folk, some Neil Young, some stoner music. It
Yeah.
depends on the day.
Well,
It depends.
some will say that metal isn't exactly the best kind of morning music, right?
For me, it's the best
Yeah,
always.
I
But
mean,
yeah.
if I'm in, let's say, let the same scenario, throw it back at me. I'm just not in a great way. I need to wake up. I've got to get myself pumped for the day somehow. I'm probably going to
Mm.
listen to something like Suffocation,
Mm.
something high energy, something aggressive, something that just makes me want to like
I
punch the mirror in the bathroom the first thing when I wake up.
I
Oh,
listened I listened to Pierce from Within this afternoon. Suffocation.
oh
Coincidentally.
yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
I could also though, like the flip side of that. I mean, I could listen to something a little bit more old school, something more new wave, like some
Mm.
Painkiller by Judas Priest.
Sure.
That it all depends on the mood, I guess. It's a pretty loaded question
Yeah.
almost, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of which, what have you been listening to this week?
This week, man, you know what? Today, I gotta talk about today, man. Surprise album. I thought it was a surprise. Abominable Putridity. Can you say that with your nice
Say it
Brit?
again.
Abominable Putridity.
Abominable putridity. Yeah, like
Yes.
the abominable
Uh,
snowman.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're very famous in what they do in the slam. You know anything about slam, brutal death metal, slamming?
Okay, so I don't want to get into it too much, but slam to
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
it feels like just a buzzword. It doesn't really describe anything different about the genre.
Well, they do, and we can get into it
Yeah,
now or next
I guess you
week.
got the slow downs and the breakdowns and stuff, but like, I don't know. It's just, isn't this the craziest thing that this metal that we love so much is probably the wildest tree of subgenres and different categories? Like
By far, by
the
far.
things that count as metal, like there's a wider spectrum than the autistic spectrum, for crying out loud.
But to go back to them, they hadn't put out an album since 2012. Their album Anomalies of Artificial Origin in 2012 was one of the albums really actually putting a face and a sound to slam, which is a kind of a new sub genre. Actually, it's a sub genre of brutal death metal. The lyrics are the vocals. Just to make it brief,
That's
the
what I was getting
vocals
at.
the vocals are completely inaudible. It's just sounds and grunts. There's no words there. The guitars is gained all the way up. It's a lot of chromatic. It's a lot of slam riff. We were talking about Pierce from Within. Take the older album from Suffocation. That riff from Lich of Veracity. It's that caveman chromatic riff.
Hmm.
There's a lot of that with it's gimmicks basically. A lot of harmonics, pinched harmonics, And so basically, they're an important band in slam. And to date, they put out their third LP out of the blue. It's called Parasitic, Metamorphosis, Manifestation. And these dudes are from Moscow. But they on vocals on the past album, they had Matty Way of Liturgy. He went back to Liturgy in 2019. For me, I listened to it, and it now sounds like any slam band. When I listened to their previous album, it was really special. It was really new, and it's still one of the best. I'm not a slam connoisseur by any means, but I mean, I can, to my ear, I can know, like, I think what I think is a little bit more special. And I have to listen to it again, but yeah, today that dropped. And to any fans of slam, for sure you saw that. To people who want to know what slam is, Abominable, Putridity is a good place to start. Their 2012 album, and the album that they put out today. Should give it a look.
Are you able to share anything in the side chat?
Yeah, I'll after you talk, I'll get the link and I'll post it for sure.
Is that all you've listened to, or is
no,
that the most notable thing?
No, that was just today. I just want to talk about two more bands. You know what? Deathcore. You know, since it came out, another subgenre, if you will. I wasn't a big fan, and now this genre is blossoming crazily in directions very interesting, with some black metal sometimes with some tech death. But this week I have two bands who mixed deathcore with melodic death metal. So melodic death metal is our shit. It's what we love. It's also an old subgenre. We're talking At the Gates, Old in Flames, all that shit. And Summoning the Lich, basically, put out an album last Friday called United in Chaos. I mentioned them last week because I had listened to their single. And man, these guys, and that's what I thought when I heard it. And every review that I heard, they're saying the same thing. It's Black Dahlia Murder 2.0. It's Black Dahlia Murder with a little bit more modern, with a deathcore twist. You like Black Dahlia. Yeah. You love Black Dahlia. Everyone in Skullsplitter love Black Dahlia. You'll love these guys. Some people have told are even saying Summoning the Lich. People are even saying that they're too Black Dahlia Murder. That's the negative.
That sounds
thing
like
about
a good problem to have.
Man, for me, it's like meat. I love meat and potatoes. Tomorrow I love it, and after tomorrow I love it. Like it is. But to me, I when you see people say lack of creativity, but to me, no, I don't think so. I like listening to the same AC/DC album, and by that I mean the newer AC/DC album. Like, I like something. I like the formula. So for me personally, if you like Black Dahlia, if you like your Black Dahlia, you like that formula, go with Summoning the Lich. If you want something a little more out there, maybe this is repetitive for you.
I almost have a fundamental disagreement with the statement lacking in creativity. Like, what do people mean when they say that, do you think? Because are they just basing it on the standard of what they're judging, the previous standard? Because to me, creativity is... there's a level of subjectiveness to it, but it's your enjoyment of something creative is purely objective. So what are they basing that standard on? Because I mean, one band trying to mimic Black Dahlia Murder one person would consider that really quite creative. But are they just saying that it's not unique enough? What do you think when you hear someone say that?
You know what? I can see both sides of the argument. On one side, it's got the Black Dahlia Murder trademark, so it's got the high vocals, like the black metal vocals. And he's got the low vocals, and he's moving low and high, like Trevor from Black Dahlia is doing. So that is very Black Dahlia thing to do. But a million bands are doing that. But the way he does it,
I have an example that isn't metal, but you know that band, for the young lads from the United States. What are they called again? The Led Zeppelin sounding guys. Greta Van Fleet, right? Do they lack creativity for the same reason?
Yeah, good point. And so yeah, first I'm gonna get there. So basically, so you got the trademarks. First of all, they have the type of riffs is very diatonic. For the musicians, it's always in scale. It's harmonic minor. You know, it's always the same tonalities basically. I guess you would put it. So it has the same trademarks. So for this, people will say it lacks creativity. But on the other hand, they're all new riffs. Like they're all new songs. Yes, it sounds like a Black Dahlia Murder type of album, but still, it's like it's all new songs. It's all new riffs. It's all new. It's not new. New. They're not reinventing the wheel here. It's not new. How can I say? It's not starting something from nothing, but at the same time, it's. So yeah, I can understand though what they mean by that.
Well, there are people out there and bands out there doing that. It doesn't mean that everyone has to do that. I don't think we'd have halfway near as much good music in any genre if everybody was constantly trying to, as you say, reinvent the wheel.
Right. So for me, yeah. So for me, I was very satisfied with it. For people who want to know a little more, basically they're from St. Louis, Missouri, in USA. It's their first LP on Parasitic Records, and they have great marketing. They put out some, Magic the Gathering cards. So they've been handing out. I think they've been handing out like random packs to people who bought or pre-ordered their shit, and they have a lot of lore around it. And
summoning the Lich.
Summoning the Lich, and on Metal Injection, the style they put on Metal Injection is fantastic death metal. So I think
they're lyric.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think, given what you just told me, it sounds like these guys are obviously like fantasy gamer nerds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Summoning the Lich, they totally got that band name idea from the same place we got our band name idea from. From World of Warcraft.
Really? Well.
Like the main bad guy in World of Warcraft is called the Lich King.
Well, no, I wouldn't be surprised.
I'd love to know if I'm right about that.
Well,
anyway, I keep interrupting. Sorry.
Hey, that's what this show's about. You can even look at the artwork of the album, and it's very fantasy like. But no, anyway, it's a great. I think it's a great album. You like Black Dahlia? Do not miss these guys. And I didn't mean to do a deathcore showcase, but the other band I was most impressed about is called Darker by Design. It's other guys mixing melodic death metal and deathcore. So for deathcore, you got so all of the breakdowns. But the difference with Summoning the Lich is that they have that a little bit that symphonic element.
Oh, cool.
So they have the violins behind, a little bit like Shadow of Intent. So if you love Shadow of Intent, the Darker by Design are more close to them. But same thing, the vocals, same thing as Trevor as Summoning the Lich, is that the high black metal voice with the growls, and he's alternating like this. But I think the composition is great. If you like Karn effects, also like the latest Karn effects, they have a lot of symphonic elements within the music. You like these guys, and it's their first LP. They're independent. It went out on February 14, and Darker by Design is the other band I wanted that I listened this week a lot. I like melodic shit. Like I like the cheese. It's gotta be epic a little bit.
I think metal
too much.
I think metal is supposed to be cheesy. It's inherently cheesy. Right. I think it's a major quality between all genres on the scale of subgenres of metal. We just got a question from Stevie Ray Bob though. What the fuck is a lich? A lich is a reanimated vessel. It's not your original body, but like when you die, you can be like through powers of necromancy, you can have your being, your essence fused into like a construct of some kind. It's basically like an undead, like a zombie.
Yeah. And everyone, we also have a Facebook page, Metal Mondays, and I'm posting everything I'm going to talk about in this week, including the bands that we showcase. I'm going to post on that page also. So we have the links to the bands, band camps, if you want to buy their shit. And also the bands I've been listening to. Any news, also new videos. I'll post that Metal Mondays on Facebook. Check it out.
We will be working towards making a YouTube channel as well, which is going to be metal and gamer centric, which is where you'll be able to find the replays of the Metal Mondays shows on MTJ Disorder. But we're still kind of working towards that. We're going to try to get last week's episode uploaded there as soon as possible.
this week, or I think early. I mean, in really the next few days, we'll have this episode and last week's episode on there, and people can follow.
That is the plan.
Yes, sir.
So we've got someone in the Lich. Who else? Who else have you been listening to?
Yeah, Darker by Design. I just mentioned them that they were the other kind of they were the other side of the coin of summoning the Lich. I was just saying that they were another band who mixed melodic death metal with deathcore, but with symphonic elements.
Sorry, if you lost my attention for a second there, it's because I was trying to see where our moderators are. Our moderators are all working, so unfortunately we're gonna have to do this one by ourselves, buddy.
No worries. So I'm asking you, what did you listen this week?
Okay, well, the week began with a little bit of a, I don't know, coercion, I guess, from you bringing up Funeral Mass in our band. In our band's private chat. So I've been listening to them quite a bit whilst I've been working. I drive for a living, so I tend to listen to music in the car quite a lot. I have also been checking out. Did you check out Gorophilia?
Fuck, man! I wrote it down and I didn't check it. Next week I'll.
Okay, so there's an interesting sort of kind of connection to what we were just talking about. They're a band that are another example of someone who you might say lack creativity, but the sound resonates with me on such an objective level that I'm like, I don't care. It's so old school, caveman riffs. The thing that I find most impressive about the band is their drumming. It's a very similar situation to actually a band who we've played with here in town called Waking Mayhem. Take away the drums and all of a sudden...
Shout out Waking Mayhem.
Yeah, take away the drums, all of a sudden it's a different style. It's like very, very much where the drums really change and take the music in a different direction. And I always find that drums in metal have the biggest influence over the genre. Because you change up the beat even slightly to any riff, and you're altering the energy of the song.
That's very true.
You throw in a blast beat over a riff. It could be just some simple little thrashy riff. Throw a blast beat over it. All of a sudden, you've got some old school death metal.
No, that's true. That's true. And the bands play with that a lot, right? They'll play the same riff and they'll play it super slow and then double time and they'll blast, and you can see how it changes the tonality of the song.
Well, and Gorophilia have been doing that for pretty much their entire discography. They're not a very old band. I guess. Well, okay, no wait, they're old, but I'm also old, so they've been around since 2007.
So what does Metal Archives qualify them as?
You mean Encyclopedia Metallum, which I have already loaded? Here, let's look.
Gorophilia?
Let's search them real quick.
The death metal. So yeah, when they write death metal, usually it's like it can be anything from very cavernous metal to morbid angel to.
I would say yes, very much just a good old run of the mill death metal band.
Cool.
But again, the objectivity of it, I find that the subjectivity. Sorry, I find that it is the kind of stuff that I've always listened to. I'm one of these metalheads who really tries to hold on to the things that I like, and so if I hear something mimicked to a good quality, to a very similar quality, then I'm going to want to listen to it. But I find that holds its own sense of creativity. But they just released an album last year in the middle of the pandemic called In the Eye of Nothing. That's probably a good place to start. But if you really want to get a foothold with them, their first full length is probably the best way to go. That's how I discovered them, Embodiment of Death. That was released in 2012. And they're just an all-around good old-fashioned, old-school death metal band.
From Finland, it says.
Well, yeah, so these are my favorite countries when it comes to metal bands, especially metal. Finland, Poland, and the UK. If you're from those three countries and you're a death metal band, you probably already got a jump start on me. I'm
more Sweden, USA, and Canada.
Canada's coming around. I'm coming around to Canada, definitely.
Yeah.
What else have I also listened to this week? I think in the whole metal category, that's the limit of where I've gone venturing forth. like trying something different. I continue to pretty much listen to all of my favorites, which I'd just be repeating myself, like you know me, bands like Devil Driver, which actually kind of disappointed me with their most recent release.
Oh yeah,
I find they were trying to become too proggy, which sure, I guess again with that whole argument of creativity, if you want to be more creative, I guess you got to try to open up and do something different. But I don't think that works at the what's the word? If you sacrifice or compromise your own integrity as a band to do it, which is what I feel like the new Devil Driver album did. It doesn't sound like Devil Driver. It's too slow. It's not aggressive enough. It almost sounds more like a Gojira album, which is interesting.
Okay. Wow. Cool. I never got deep into Devil Driver, but and I like a few songs here and there. I haven't heard their last one. Maybe it's more. Maybe I would prefer this from what they usually are. I'll have a listen.
Well, I think it's again the subjectivity of music. It's some things going to tickle your music bone, some things are not. So I feel if I was to give a reason as to why Devil Driver resonated with me so much and why they are one of my favorite, not just metal bands, but bands of all time, I think it has a lot to do with kind of the nostalgia and the experiences that I had surrounding discovering that band. That I saw, like they're an example of a band who I saw them live, and then I was like, okay, why haven't I been listening to this? I went to see Fear Factory back in 2009, I think it was, but I saw Fear Factory and Devil Driver were the opening band, and I've never seen such a violent mosh pit in the Starlight Room in my life. And that was immediately just my memory of that entire show. There was people hanging and falling over, the balcony at the back of that venue? People falling and hanging over that, trying to jump, and you couldn't move. I'm pretty sure they blew capacity that night. There must have been over 1,000 people.
That's very interesting because I'm sure that will help us segue into the first news we'll talk about today. Yeah. But before we do that, I just want to say, I agree, man. Some bands, I listened to the album and I didn't really get hooked, and then I saw them live as part of the opening act or whatever, and it blew my mind, and I became a super fan. Like pretty much Shadow of Intent was that for me. I really loved the album. I knew it was a strong album when they put it out in 2019, but when I saw them, with that show we went as part with Despise the Icon, and I couldn't believe it was the most violent mosh pit I had been into also at that time at the Starlight. And I went out there, and so live music. So let's say you check out some albums randomly in the week. Yeah, you're gonna listen to the music, but I feel that the music you see live will even more influence where you go from there, because I don't know, there's something magical about a live performance that after that you're not only gonna check out that band out, but you probably check out other bands that play similar stuff, and I feel for a lot of people that's the case.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Ray X in the chat. We're talking about heavy metal. This is something we started last Monday, where we're gonna we're in a metal band together, so we're very passionate about heavy metal as a music genre. So we're gonna basically talk about that until we can't talk anymore. So it's wonderful to have you along, and there will be a gaming stream tonight. I'll probably be playing Valheim, is looking to what I'm leaning towards, but for now we're talking metal. And so just to continue with what you were saying there, just again, there's another anecdote for you if you're interested.
Sure.
So I was listening to metal music. I've already had this conversation with you privately, but it's good. I think it's a good talk here. I've been listening to metal music since around the time I first came to Canada, so 2000, 2001. I grew up, as you know, on things like the Beatles and musical theatre and all that. So when I started to look into metal, I was kind of like figuring it out by myself. And so bands like Slipknot, bands like Metallica and Megadeth were my first go-tos. My first metal concert where I was really encouraged to open up and go listen to something more extreme was, oddly enough, a Children of Bodom concert.
Oh, wow.
It was Gigantour back in 2008.
Yeah.
And they were opening for Megadeth.
Yeah.
And I was there to see Megadeth, and when I heard the opening song, it was Living Deadbeat. It starts with the typical synthesizer intro and whatnot. I was like, what I wasn't even thinking about going to the front of the stage. I was just, at the beer gardens waiting for Megadeth to come up. And as soon as that first song kicked in, I was to the front and hooked from the get go. And that is again another experience of being in a show that and in an environment that I'd never experienced before, and I just wanted more from it. And so began my journey
Rest
down
in
that
peace,
path.
Alexei.
Yeah, definitely.
Rest in peace, Alexei.
That's why I wanted. That's one of the reasons I wanted to bring that up too, because we haven't had a chance to really say anything since that happened.
Yeah. So live music is magical. We all miss it. We miss doing shows. We miss seeing shows. We miss seeing our buddies seeing shows. Our buddies doing shows, talking about shows. Fuck.
Yeah,
it's
which
the
helps
reason. Yeah.
I think that helps segue onto the weekly news segment.
Yeah.
I did want to say real quick though. I also just a quick shout out to a band that we showcased last week. A band that I've also been listening to, Leprosy, and it's their album Obnoxious Futuristic Vision. Yeah. I keep wanting to say Leprosies.
Leprosies. They used to be. I don't know if I said that last week. They used to be Leprosy. But I think there's too many bands named Leprosy, then they added an S for that release there. So.
And after I've listened to them a little bit more, I really do now start to hear the death influence.
Aha!
Yeah.
There we go.
Especially in the vocals. So, moving on to the weekly news, there's quite a bit's happened this week, but we narrowed it down to 2 different articles we'd like to talk about. And the reason I said it was a good segue was because talking about how we miss the magic of live shows. Well, one of the strangest live shows happened this week, per the courtesy of Lacuna Coil. Now, I'm not sure if anybody heard about this, but it's a shocking revelation. The article is titled, the headline is Lacuna Coil advertised live stream concert. Fans watch them stand in silence. Yeah. It's a little strange. In a nutshell, basically what they were doing was them and 130 other Italian artists and venues basically started an initiative called I don't want to butcher this, I'm not Italian, but the L'Ultimo Concerto. I'm sure that's correct. I don't know. Maybe
you have to put your hand like this. L'Ultimo Concerto.
L'Ultimo Concerto.
Okay. Here you go.
So they basically the whole point of the initiative was to bring attention to the struggling live scene in the country and the uncertain future for many venues. Now, we all know what that is. They're not the only ones suffering from it. The whole world is suffering from it. It's called a pandemic. And it's true. We were just talking about the Starlight Room. That's a room here in our hometown that has finally basically spoken up in the community and said, hey, look, we can't keep our lips sealed anymore. We're struggling and there's a chance we might not be able to reopen. So I do really appreciate Lacuna Coil's motive. I'm a fan of Lacuna Coil. I always will be. I love that band. Another band I've seen live many times. But I think we just kind of were a little bit questioning towards the manner of which they tried to bring this initiative forward and to the attention of people. Like, I will say this, speaking for myself, we know there's a pandemic on. We get it, right? We know businesses are suffering. And as a result, it's a good initiative. I do not mind what they've done and why they've done it. What I think's a little weird, a little bit iffy, and you could probably go into a little bit more detail on how you feel about this, is why not play the show after? Why not also play a show? Like, come in, stand in silence for a little bit. You know what? Make your point, then play a show.
Yeah, because there was even, I think, a video promoting this, and you saw them all getting into costumes and makeup. For the people who didn't see the articles, like they actually dressed up like they were going to do the show. And they made the point, and then the article came out and everything. But if I'm a huge Lacuna Coil fan, and I'm okay, it was a free show. Everyone's gonna be asking, did people pay? No, it was free. But still, like, people, maybe people didn't go to they didn't do a certain activity because they wanted to see the Lacuna Coil show. Maybe they canceled, they put work out of the way to make sure to see the live Lacuna Coil show. And then they only saw them stand on stage. Like, if I had gone out of my way, and I'm very busy, you are also, just to make sure to be in front of my computer, and then this happens, I would have been I think I would have been bummed out. Like,
Well,
I appreciate what they did, what they try to highlight, but like, do both. Stand in silence
yeah.
for 2 minutes and then play the fucking show.
Because I mean, to
So,
me, if I was like, say, for instance, as you say, if I was there waiting for them to play the show, and then they were like, yeah, this is for the awareness of the struggling music industry. The only thing that I can feel in response to that is, well, we know we're suffering from it too. I came on here hoping to watch a concert by you guys in order to distract me from that.
yeah.
So yeah,
But yeah.
it feels a little bit strange.
But we have to we're zoomed in on metal though. Like, we have to think that they were part of 300 other artists that did this also, right? So it's like it's not, it was just not just Lacuna Coil. That's what we heard about because we follow metal news.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, and they're asking for donations or something. Well, I think every bar is asking for donations now. That we're saying 200,000 people in Italy is out of a job because of this, and this is the same. Is the case in every country, in every live city, right? So, yeah.
It's very rough. Do you want to hear their actual statement that they put out on Instagram?
Go ahead.
So this is what Lacuna Coil said. For those watching from all over the world, we're sorry you guys didn't get to see the show you were expecting. We just stood in silence, showing our support to the live club scene. Unfortunately, live clubs in Italy and the rest of the world have been closed for a year now, and there's no sign of reopening anytime soon. We believe they should get the right attention and recognition because that is what they deserve, to be considered as cultural spaces. Hopefully, this initiative will bring their uncertain situation to everybody's attention.
There's no easy way. I mean, the bands can still get revenue from selling merch, albums, and even doing live shows, which they like this.
I do feel it's kind of suspiciously lacking an apology. Like, the purpose is to bring awareness, right?
Yeah.
But by saying, sorry we weren't able to bring you the performance you wanted, that's not taking away from the message, in my opinion. I guess I'm one of those weirdos, though, who feels apologies are necessary. I feel I think when you apologize for something, it makes you feel better. So.
Well, they did it, and now they will forever be known as the band who did that.
Unfortunately. Okay, so before we move on to something new this week, let's touch on something we spoke about last week. So on last week's show, we were talking about the imminent signature guitar deal between Gibson and Dave Mustaine.
Yeah.
We didn't get a chance to see anything or what was going on. So let's just real quickly kind of actually talk about, after the fact, now that we've seen the models, what we think of the models.
You want to show some pictures? Are you showing?
Well, I was going to wait until you started talking, and then I was just going to have the swipe happen. But yeah, we're to the guitar windows now. There's a picture of him currently on screen holding his Gibson V with the Explorer headstock.
I mean, I feel like from the reviews I've seen, everyone that's like, yeah, guitars like me, like I like all kinds of guitars, and I don't know too much about them. I don't go out of my way to see every model that every brand is putting out. So to me, it looked like a decent looking guitar. It looks badass. It's a Gibson. It's a V. A lot of people. I've heard a lot of bad hype on it also. I don't know what about you? What did you see? How do you think they look? And
it's funny because I'm not a V guy, right? But I kind of like it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's different from the usual Vs that we see from Gibson. So it's you could almost argue that it's Gibson's very first attempt at actually making and partnering with someone for a signature design. It's not like Slash, for instance, with his signature Les Paul, right? It's just a Les Paul.
Right.
Take the pickguard off, I guess. But this is a new model. This is not something Gibson have ever put out before. There are no Vs with the Explorer headstock. Also, kind of like the beveling between where the V meets the neck. That's kind of interesting too.
Yeah, it's a lot more pointy than
Yeah.
the usual Gibson V. I don't know if you ever seen old bluesmen play with V's like Albert King.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the 50s or the 60s he had but they're the big V, you know, like the cream color, and of course decades before metal was a thing. So now when you look at this, it really looks funny, like a guy playing blues on the V, because V is so much associated with metal now. So, but I guess probably, I don't know. People could tell us in the chat, but I think who did the first V? It could have been Gibson, if you ask me.
I would imagine so, that the Flying V is the first V.
Yeah,
because you go the furthest back I can remember someone using a Flying V is Randy Rhoads.
I was gonna say, and that's the 80s, right? Or late 70s,
like mid to late 70s. Yeah. I also believe the guys from Blue Oyster Cult sported a V at one point. There's probably quite a few out there.
Did they have a V cowbell?
Do
they have a V cowbell?
Yeah, but can you address something in the chat there?
You know what? My chat isn't loading, so you have to tell me what's going on.
I believe it's Italian.
Un
saludo a mi compa Felipe.
That's probably my uncle Frank.
Oh,
my uncle.
He calls himself
Frank
Yankamini.
No, that's actually my Mexican friend. What's up, Yan?
Oh,
he's right there.
It's Espanol.
He's my neighbor. Yeah.
Oh, hola.
What's up?
So, anyways,
Hola,
I've got the V's up right now, and there's some interesting things. You probably don't have pictures yourself. I'm going to describe first the green burst one. It actually has very interesting fret dots. They almost look like Twitch bits. There's kind of these weird diamond looking things. And that's another example of Gibson stepping outside of its comfort zone. Gibson is usually all about the trapezoids or the dots, and that's it. They don't usually do anything different. And then you've also got this very interesting look with the silver burst, where it kind of looks like almost like Cubase markers. Inversed chevrons, which is interesting because to me it makes it look very much not like a Gibson. It looks like a Jackson.
Means our other guitar player in the band, Trevor, plays with a lot of V's, and it looks like one of his V's or a combination of some of his V's.
Yeah,
it's not. But for me, it's like I see it, I judge it right away. I look it, I think it was badass. Good for Dave Mustaine and good for Gibson.
We've also got an acoustic guitar here in the picture, which has the same fret dots, but it looks like a typical run-of-the-mill Gibson acoustic guitar. The only difference that I see is this almost kind of like weird squiggly design on the pickguard, and also the cutaway is pointy, because we all know pointy means metal, right?
Yeah, it's got to be pointy.
But interestingly enough, there's no Epiphones on here, but we did get the Kramer variant.
Cool.
Which I'm not sure if you saw the Kramer variant. It looks pretty much the exact same as the Gibson, except it's got a little bit more pointiness to it.
We all judge by the number, by the pointiness level.
And then that's the catalog basically. So there's not much more we can really say other than good stuff, Dave. Good stuff, Gibson.
Can't wait to see like a first proper new single by Megadeth, with his V, and that's where it will really shine. I think
that'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
It's
got to come up. It's coming, right? If it's doing that, the gifts, the news, the picture of the guitar, it's probably a Megadeth single coming.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Cool. What else we got to talk about?
Moving slowly on back to the news. Again, lots happened this week, but something of note, for any Killswitch Engage fans or Devil May Care, I think they're called. So essentially, any Howard Jones fans out there is news in the, what do we want to call it, the social media musician scene. Jared Dines and singer Howard Jones, basically, we know they've already come together to collaborate on something, but they just released a teaser and also a reveal of the name of their project.
What's the name of the project?
So the band's name is going to be Scion.
Scion. Okay.
And the album will be called. The first single will be called "The Blade." And if you want,
Yeah.
if you want to go check out the teaser trailer, it is available
Yeah.
on Jared Dine's YouTube channel, and you can also go find a YouTube channel for Scion. But
I think that's yeah.
Did you listen to the
Go
tease?
ahead. Yeah, I listened to the tease, and I'm a Howard fan because I'm not a big metalcore fan. I'm not a huge Killswitch Engage fan, but I am a big fan of the End of Heartache, that album, and Howard happens to sing on it. So for me, Killswitch Engage is Howard, and I know that most Killswitch Engage people wouldn't say that. So I like Howard, and Jared Dine is an awesome YouTuber. He's got great, he puts out great content. He's a singer, he's a guitar player, he's a multi-instrumentalist, a drummer. But I think it sounds dope. But I think I also already know how it's gonna sound like. You know what I mean?
It'll probably sound like a Jared Dines album with Howard Jones singing on it.
It'll sound like metalcore.
Maybe some
it'll
gent.
sound like yeah. But the teaser is sweet. Yeah, Jared goes into a little run there, and then it stops there. But no, I'm interested about it. I mean, good for Jared Dines, and I think one thing about the discussion is I always feel like, well, now you have these YouTubers, and you have YouTubers that have great talent. But even if you think virtuosos like a Steve Vai or a Joe Satriani, like the instrumental thing that they do is cool, is great. But I always feel like there was a lack of opportunity there, because there's nothing like seeing a good shredder in a band that puts out songs that with hooks. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So Jared Dine put out a lot of stuff on his YouTube, and I know he filled in for Trivium and other bands, but to finally see what kind of, and I know he's in bands also, he is in bands, but to see him, with a more high profile project, composing something new, I think it's a good opportunity. It's great. It's something that he should have done a long time ago already, with all the exposure he has. I mean, this guy he's one of the top streamer of metal stuff, of music stuff. Is he not?
I would say so. And I got 2 points I can add to that. So first of all, anything Howard Jones does, I am always going to support. Ever since the guy hung out with me and Trevor outside the Starlight Room and talked to us for about half an hour.
Whoa!
Yeah, he's just he's a good guy, good genuine guy, and I love his voice. I do prefer him away from Killswitch, but that's a different topic. I like that he does other things. I like that he's doing something with Jared Dines as a result. And as for Jared Dines, it's interesting because if you think about the pandemic, for instance, let's go back a step here. I think the landscape of music, of the music industry in general, is currently changing. And it was actually undergoing changes, I believe, for the last 10 years with the dawn of social media, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all of those things. It's now opened up a completely different avenue for people, creative people, to release and share their music with the world. It's not always going to be now about going to your buddy's basement, being like, you play guitar? Oh, I play drums. Let's start a band. Those days are not gone. They're not gone, but there is a new part of the landscape now. It's changing and has been changing for the last 10 years, and I think the pandemic has hastened it a little bit. It's made it a little bit more realistic for people to think, well, hey, look, we're not going to be playing any shows anytime soon, so we got to think of ways to get ourselves out there, some new ways to get ourselves out there. And I think this is a good example of that.
No, for sure. And you know that they're already going to have a lot of followers and all that. They both have their fans, and I think the teaser looks pretty decent. So people, if you like Jared Dines, you like Killswitch Engage, check it out. It's for you.
Yeah, they. I don't think they've said there's any tentative release date on an album or anything, but the single will be released on March 11th, so it's just around the corner.
Cool.
All
nice.
right. Did you
ready to?
Did you have anything you'd like to bring to the table on the news front, or shall we move on to the next segment?
I think it's about time we listen to some Canadian metal. Yeah, we can move to the next segment.
Okay, so this segment, to any newcomers, is basically where we go away from the mainstream and start to talk about something a little bit more local, a little bit closer to home, specifically in our nation. So this week, again, the bands have been brought to us by suggestion from Phil. I will tee it up, however. The first one we're going to be looking at is a band called Stench of Death, correct?
Yes,
And
correct.
with a is this a single or is this just a pick, just a suggestion?
Yeah, it's actually, well, we'll be listening to a song called Stench. It's actually off of their EP. They're from Calgary. And if you want to cue it up, and I'll tell you all about them after.
All right, here we go. Okay. Wow.
Yes. How good was that?
That was really good, actually. So I'm trying to act surprised because I've already listened to it a bunch. So I really enjoy the style so much.
Yeah.
To me, it's almost kind of similar to what we were just discussing earlier about the lack of creativity argument. To me, this is
Yeah.
this is where the gray area of that argument is, because you could say that there's not a lot of creativity because it sounds very very simplistic and very straightforward, but the way these guys played around with tempos and time signatures to me is really what does it for me.
Yeah.
Like it feels like
I'm the same.
Yeah, it feels like just 7 or 8 different moods and tastes and textures, and very, very much a fan of Stench of Death.
Right from the bat, I know you like 6/8, and they changed from 4/4 to 6/8. You know, back and forth right off the bat, and I thought that was it's brilliant. I mean,
I like the
it's your old school death metal, but yeah, exactly. So they're a power trio, man. They're 3 guys. They're from Calgary. This is their first EP. They had a split in 2020 with Deatherus, also from Calgary. You know Deatherus?
No.
Or I feel I heard, or then I heard Trevor mention it. Yeah, so they had a split in 2020, and so there are 3 guys here. You got Travis Hahn on guitar and vocals. You got Riley Clare on bass and vocals, and you got Colton Sobey on drums. And basically, they put out this EP, is an Untitled EP on January 14th on Lavender Cacophony Contraband Records. And basically, man, they printed 75 tapes, and this is the marketing part. They had 25 blue. That's what's interesting. The EP has 4 songs, but they put out 3 colored tapes, 25 copies of each. So on the blue tape, which was the official version, they tell me it's a cover of Gorguts, the song Nostalgia. So the 4th song on every different cassette was a different cover. On the pink tapes, they had the cover of Serpents of the Light by D-Side. And on the yellow tapes, they had the cover God of Emptiness by Morbid Angel. So which of your which song do you prefer in all these 3?
List the 3 of them again for me. Just bullet them.
Nostalgia by Gorguts, Serpents of the Light by D-Side, and God of Emptiness by Morbid Angel.
Ooh, I don't know. All of them.
I didn't hear the Morbid Angel and D-Side cover, but the Gorguts cover is I was
just gonna say, because you had me at Gorguts, and then with D-Side I'm a little bit maybe. As soon as you mentioned Morbid Angel, though, you threw a complete stick into my spokes. Yeah, all 3, please.
But all 3, man. And there's a big revival now. If you're in the metal scene, you know there's a big revival of old school death metal, and we like to believe we're part of it. We love old school death metal, and these guys are like us, man. They're young. They like to listen to the old OGs of death metal, and they already sold out all their EP. They all sold out the split with Deatherus. They're sold out of everything, basically.
So this is a moral. There's a moral to be had from all of this, man. So basically, don't let anyone ever tell you that you're not creative enough because you sound too much like a really creative band. If you sound like Gorguts, then holy crap, you're doing something that I can't. And so Reek of Decay are in the chat. They just mentioned that Nostalgia was definitely the most fun for them to record.
Ah, man, and I mean, the 3 first songs are very old school death, but Nostalgia it's got that tech sound. It's a Gorguts, and it's out of the album Obscura. So it's got all these crazy riffs, you know, like techniques, and I think they made it sound even more old school death metal. So to their sauce, and it's a fun EP, man. I love it. It's obviously you always want EPs when it's great. You always want more, so you end up listening to it 2-3 times in a row.
And they record. Do they record onto tape, or is it just mixed down onto tape?
Maybe you can confirm to us in the chat. Basically, it was recorded, mixed, and mastered by a guy called Scott Oliphant, Colossus Audio Productions. So I don't know if that was on tape, but
I'd be interested to know. I'd be interested to know if you guys had this recorded onto tape as well, because that would just add even more cool to the fact that you guys have nothing but cassettes.
Well, I feel like our generation are really like reminiscing of all the 80s, 90s stuff, and like now bands are putting out, for those who are not familiar with the old school death metal scene, like things are getting out onto cassette, onto VHS. You know, lately you had a show, Frozen Soul, Creeping Death and Devourment putting out a live show, like a COVID fucking show. And they sold some VHS out of it, and it's all 80s, 90s horror movies themed B-movie, you know. And I don't know about you, but I love that shit. It's like it brings me back, and so does the metal. But yeah, it's a great EP. And man, fun fact, you reminded me of this, or I think Trevor reminded us of this. We were gonna play a show with them in Calgary, right? We had a little tour organized last summer. Obviously, it got canceled, but we had one date with these guys. Man, we got to do it for sure.
In the future, yes, it will happen.
Yeah.
So we got a response. It was recorded digitally, okay, but then they had a tape master made afterwards. So that's good. I like that. Yeah. We all love physical media, so we'd be interested in experimenting with other formats. I want to see some. I want to hear vinyl. It's I mean it's hip, I guess, to want to hear vinyl, but I would love to hear, especially if you have a tape master made as well. So that being said, though, I also do want to get my hands on the cassette, because so I've only heard it digitally. I would love to hear that. To me, that song that we played, I'm excited to know that it's on cassette somewhere, because I want to hear how that sounds. I want to hear that stretchy warmth of tape going through reels. I want to hear that song on tape. So if I can get my hands on a copy of your guys' cassette, please let me know. Please email us and give us the information so I can get a copy of that cassette.
I think you'll have to be fast, because I was speaking with Colton, the drummer, and he told me, oh, he might have a cassette here and there. So, but they only made 75 copies, man. So if there is a copy or a few copies, they're very rare. And he did tell me he was gonna print some long sleeve, and you know I'm a huge fan of long sleeves. I almost collect them, and he sent me a mock-up of it. And I'm a buyer. Definitely look out for Stench of Death music. Anything they're gonna be releasing. Obviously, they'll print more copies this time, so we can all have a copy. And amazing band, man.
Well, they just
Power trio.
Yeah, they just gave us another little bonus here in the chat there, that the tapes each have different intros or different variants.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really cool. Because what was the first thing I said as soon as I started playing the song when you suggested it to me? I usually let a song play and let it stew before I talk about it, but I immediately was like, oh, that intro, that intro is interesting. I really like the intro. So to know that there's variants of it, I want to hear those variants. That's exciting stuff.
You kept telling me you love that intro. You love that intro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's creativity. From what I've heard, guys, you're a very creative band, and I'm excited to hear more.
Awesome.
You have any other points, or shall we move on?
I think we can move on, man. Yeah.
All right.
And
you
have another Canadian.
You shared their Bandcamp. You've shared their Bandcamp, right? It's reekofdecay.bandcamp.com album. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So anybody watching, if you're interested in checking out more, then follow that link and give those boys some love. All right. So the next band we're gonna talk about is Malice Divine. All right. So go ahead and give us the tee up for that.
All right. So Malice Divine is a very interesting project. It's a solo project of a guy called Rick Galvez in Toronto, and it's melodic black metal. And you know how much I love melodic stuff. And lately, I've been enjoying more and more black metal because of the melodic aspect. And his record is amazing. It's a first LP. Let's listen to the song, and I'll tell you more after.
Oh yeah, that was good.
That's something
That
else.
was the
Yeah,
first time hearing that one.
it's amazing, man.
That
And
yeah, that is what all metal bands should achieve to sound should aspire to sound like. Wow.
so Malice Divine is a project by a guy named Rick Galvez. It's a solo project. It's his project. He composed everything. He recorded everything except the drums. We'll talk about that a little later. But he composed everything, including the drum parts, and he put this out independently. He's from Toronto, and obviously it's what you would call melodic black metal. So for me, that's how I like my black metal. It's very melodic. His vocals, I have no problem with his vocals. His great vocals. He can do everything, and the song, the composition, and this is just the tip of the iceberg there because he's got so many. It's a journey, You used that word last week. His whole album is a big journey. He's got all kinds of interludes with acoustic guitars. He has some harpsichord here and there, and it's a fantastic album. It's already been considered for some lists by some people. It's gonna be one of the best black metal album of the year. So big words.
I believe
from
it.
Yeah, seriously, man, you gotta listen to the whole album.
I am.
Put Funeral Mass on pause and do some Malice Divine.
This is going to be the leprosy of the week.
Yeah.
And I have to just make a quick point because of what you were talking about there. So yeah, all I was thinking the whole time listening to that was melodic. I thought it was melodic blackened death metal, but potato. But very, very melodic. And it's interesting because me, when it comes to collaboration, that's usually my favorite way of making music. But like this is the kind of guy though who I say this speaks volumes in favor of the ability to actually just have one vision and one mind in control. It makes for less problems. And so you don't really, so that's the thing about his music. It doesn't have really any adversity. Right, that's not a problem, but I can tell that the guy had no one telling him, well, maybe you should do this or do this or do this. It was just from start to finish. You could hear it in the music that this was an unadulterated vision.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I agree. It's very concise. The whole album is, even if it heads in a different direction. It's like it's probably been in his head for so long. I did chat with him a bit. I talked with him. I didn't want to ask him a million questions because maybe one day we'll have him on the show, and I want.
Yes, please bring him on.
I don't want to reveal everything, but I will reveal a few things. Basically, it was his first release on February 19th, and he has a very special guest. He's got Dylan Gowen on session drumming. Dylan Gowen is one of the VJs, one of the hosts at Banger TV. So basically the prime Canadian metal show. Obviously, Sam Dunn, the guy who did the Headbangers Journey. He did that. He started the Metal Tree, for fuck's sakes. That's a Canadian thing. He started that in the early 2000s, and it's only the recent now where I'm big into.
I'm gonna watch that again. I haven't watched that in a long time.
And it's funny because
he has a YouTube channel as well called Bangers.
Yeah, and he has a great series. He even has a series where on live show with users, he helped come up with defining subgenres and by metalheads for metalheads. So I thought it was brilliant. And I love genres. I know you don't particularly enjoy putting tags on it. I am the opposite. I have to put a tag.
To clarify, let me clarify. I just to me. It's hard to really narrow it down and nail it down because one person's death metal is another person's black and death metal. One person's slam metal is another person's brutal death metal. That's just
Well, there's some crossover there, but like I have other freaks like me who I have groups on Facebook, and we listen to albums and we think about how we would define them. And most of the time we agree. Most of the time, not always.
I guess what all I'm saying is it's not that I don't like the idea. I just don't care.
Exactly. Whereas I do.
Yeah, it means a lot to you. Yeah, of course. Real quick before you continue on, Bob there in the chat says he thinks it's a cross between COF, Dragon Force, and Metallica.
That's my dad.
Do you agree with him on any of that?
No, zero.
No.
But thanks for your comment.
Like, definitely not the Dragon Force, anyway.
Yeah.
Do you want to know? You want to know who I think they reminded me of a little bit? And you're gonna tell me to shut the fuck up, but kind of reminded me of Legatus.
Your other band,
not as good like as far as performance, but the idea, the idea behind the direction of the song, especially with the kind of like the acoustic breakdown and then the slow build up and whatnot at the end, and that's the kind of stuff we know shit apparently. Thanks, Bob.
But to reply to my dad, Dragon Force would be power metal, Metallica would be trash metal. I don't know which other band he mentioned. But yeah, different tags, different rows. You go to the grocery shop, it's a different fucking road, Eddie.
So
learn your rows.
To be clear though, about my comparison there, it was a comparison in vision only, not in quality. Like, I don't think we're anywhere close to the quality that he is at. But it was I really like. That's why I'm super impressed with it, because when I make music, especially when I'm making music where I'm in control, before I bring riffs to bandmates to see what they want to do with it, I usually write the kind of stuff I want to hear, and I want to hear more of that guy.
Oh yeah, and that was some of my follow-up questions to him, which I didn't ask because I was keeping that for next time. Hopefully, if we get him on the show, I wanted to know where he comes from, who he played with. On Metal Archives, he's just listed, I believe, with on this solo project. And so I said Dylan Gowen recorded the drums for him, very famous, the host. He does the prog reviews on Banger TV usually. And I know you'll love this guest. Lindsay Schoolcraft is playing the fucking harpsichord on the 9th track, on the final track. Of course, Lindsay Schoolcraft of Cradle of Filth. She plays keyboards now with Cradle of Filth. I believe she still does.
To be fair, that was one of the bands your dad mentioned that they sound like Cradle of Filth.
Chris. Right. I was asking you what was the first band
I said
you named?
COF.
So that one has black. So Cradle of Filth is like a symphonic black metal. Yeah, it's black metal. So this one.
You don't give him enough credit.
I asked you what's the first band, but you didn't listen to me. You pretended like
I did. I said COF.
COF. Sorry, I thought that was a porn channel.
Oh, I thought most Cradle of Filth fans refer to them that way.
I'm kidding. Yeah. So man, she and he told me she actually recorded that piece for it, and I thought, I didn't know this, I learned it after, but when I listened to it, I thought it really brought something more to the album, and you got to listen to it. I'm sure you'll talk about it next week. It's a wonderful album. I've listened to it at least half a dozen times, and it's going to be one of my strong picks for the year. And yeah. Anything you want to add before I shout him out on the marketing side?
Well, I just real quick wanted to say that both these bands we featured today, nothing against Hatalom or anything, but both these bands today are going to be in my playlist this coming week, for sure. I was that much impressed with both. And okay, I guess I keep wanting to say it the other way around. I keep wanting to say Divine Malice. So Malice Divine, I know, isn't a band. It's just but I'm gonna have both of these albums on my playlist this week.
So you're not the tech guy. You're not big about techie shit.
I enjoyed Hatalom, but it's just I guess again just personal taste. What we were talking about earlier about the difference.
It's over our heads. It's too complex for us peasants.
Much, yeah. I accept and admire it for what it is, but I probably would want to move on to something a little bit different.
We're more the kind of we're more the kind of guys guitar go.
Yeah.
That's more.
I like the warm feeling in my ears, not the like constant berating. But it's it's though more of a testament, I think, to what I'm hearing today. I just feel like I could listen to both Stench of Death and Malice of Divine whilst I'm out driving, whether it's on a road trip, whether I'm out working, delivering stuff. Like it's good driving music. It's stuff that I want to accompany me during my journeys throughout the day.
And bro, that's exactly what I do. I put on this album when I drive. I put on this album when I work. It's kind of it's very now so non-metal heads will sound crazy, but to me it's very soothing. You know? Yeah, it's comforting. It's comforting metal.
It's funny.
It is. Yeah.
Like that. I saw. I think it was a meme earlier today. It was like trying to explain what the metal singer is saying to my girlfriend who doesn't know what metal is, and it's just like a guy. He sat with his girlfriend playing some brutal death metal song, and he's speaking along to her, and like almost like an interpreter. And so I think it's funny because it sounds like you say, what was the word you used? It sounds smooth and
comforting, soothing,
soothing, comforting, and whatnot. Yeah. But to other people who metal goes over their head, will just be looking at us. What the fuck are you guys talking about?
Like, yeah. But
yeah, that's.
You know what? I feel I want to give you some. Yeah.
You want to give me some what?
Sorry, my connection is not too good. I wanted to give you some homework. I wanted you to, as a vocalist, as a songwriter, check out his lyrics and comment on that, because that's the part I didn't have time to do this week.
Oh, sure.
I don't know what he's singing about, but for the rest, I'm fucking on my ass.
I'm gonna guess with the name of the song, Quantum Manifestation. I'm thinking it's gonna be some sort of like fever trip idea about how like things are manifested through the quantum nature of the universe or something.
Okay, well, to be continued.
Yeah, I'd like to pick his brain on that. We got to bring him on. I think we got to bring him on the show.
Oh man, he's awesome. Rick Galvez. I'm gonna shout him out. I already posted his Bandcamp link in the chat. He's got neat little packages like Athlon had, $9 you can buy his digital album, or for $15 you can buy the physical CD. For $40 you get the CD and a t-shirt, or for $60 you get the CD and a hoodie, or what you really need, what you really want is the ultimate package, $85. They get CD, the t-shirt, and the hoodie. Malice Divine. What a fucking awesome album. What a genius. Basically, I want more of it. I want to know all about this guy. And he's a fellow Canadian from Toronto. Amazing album.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Good
all right.
stuff.
Well, do you have anything more to add, or should we start wrapping up?
I think we should start wrapping up.
Yeah. Well, big thank you.
I think I have to go to sleep.
Big thank you to Phil as always, and a humongous thank you to both bands that we were able to showcase today.
Oh yeah.
So we got Malice Divine, and he is. Do you want to throw his name out real quick?
Yeah, Rick Galvez.
Rick Galvez and Stench of Death. So we got Rick Galvez with Malice of Divine from Toronto, Stench of Death from Calgary, our fellow Albertans. Let's go Oilers. Go check them out if you haven't heard them. We threw their links into the chat, and it probably wouldn't hurt to throw the links up again so people are not scrolling back through. But I think that is going to end it for this edition of Metal Mondays. We thank everyone for watching. And until next time, stay metal.
Metal.